All right, let's get a clean sheet of paper out. Let's talk about your fix and your flipping. So, fix and flipping. You got to think about some things. Look, I told you that thing would go, Brian. I saw it this morning. I was like, oh, man, it's gone. That's too good of a deal. And it's fully occupied. 100% occupied. Yeah, 9 units and a manager on site. Like, this thing is a smoking deal. And it's off market. Look at them. They ain't wasting any time, are they, Brian? they scooping in on the deal already. Listen, when you got a good deal, you ain't got to worry about it. The people will come buy it. So what timelines? Here's to give you an idea. If I'm looking at a $20,000 remodel, I better be in and out in 3 to 5 weeks, okay? If we're at a $40,000 remodel, we estimate 5 to 6 weeks. Now, for those of you up in the Connecticut area, if the snow's coming in, that gets a little longer, okay? Large rehabs of $100,000 or more, yeah, it could take us a couple of months to get through that thing. You want to look at your timeline, project timeline. You should have got that in a handout. Can I get one of those handouts, please? So I gave you some paperwork this morning that's going to go over what your timeline should look like. And I gave you a set of costs for goods. Now, those of you that are going to come on my bus tour, we're going to dig into this a little bit more when you get to the bus tour. So you have what's called a based, this is based on a 2,000 square foot home. And go to all the way to the last sheet. The last sheet, this is called a rehab timeline matrix. Basically what this is it's telling you when you should be doing things based on the pre-purchase in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, etc. Because some things have to be done in week 1, even if they're not even going in until week 4. You understand? Because we have to get them ordered. So, and this will give you your hold time in repairs when you're starting to look at the days on market and will you have your sell date. One of the things I want to be real clear with you guys on is this. Is just because the days on market say that you can sell this house in 60 days does not mean that you're going to buy this house and sell it in 60 days. Do you understand? Because this is why you have to factor in all this. What's it going to take to fix it up? How long is it going to take to fix it up? And then what's your days on market? And depending on how you price it will determine whether or not it stays or it goes quickly. All right? So that's your timeline. And you'll have to understand that. And remember, what's more important than days on market? Cumulative. I can't even say that word. Cumin. That's the word that wants to come out of my mouth. Cumulative. Did I say it then? Man, I am sweating it up already this morning. All these lights on me. Cumulative days on market. All right, here's some things you got to be careful about. What is my hedge factor? Let me tell you something. These things will eat you up. If you're not calculating for blinds and all the hardware that goes throughout the house and all the vents that you've got to change and knobs and closet shelves and closet bifold doors and bathroom accessories and staging the house and unseen issues and mistakes that are going to be made, all these things can add up if you miss them. And let me tell you something. Can your contractor miss these too? Absolutely. They come in and give you a bid. You're like, oh, that's great. And then you don't get them to itemize everything. And guess what? You come back and go, well, what about all the knobs and vents? Oh, that wasn't in my bid. Oh, that wasn't in my bid. That's a work change order, right? You understand? You will get eat alive on work change orders. You'll get eat up, okay? You might go in thinking, oh, it's a 17th. Here's something. And I'm going to just share this with you. And sometimes contractors don't like to do it. But I tell all my contractors, I want it itemized. And here's the number. Oh, I'll get it all done. No. I want it itemized because I want to be able to see what it is they're missing that I might still have to either get them to do it or I've got to pay extra to have it done, right? Because overall, I got to figure out the total cost of the project, not just what the contractor wants to do. So you have to get it itemized. Now, I have a contractor that he's pretty cool about it because he'll give me the itemized material list and then he'll give me his labor fee. And the reason I like that is because I can go through the material list and see everything that he's ordering and if it matches up with the things that I need done. And then he'll have an extra line of things that maybe he's not ordering, but he's just doing. You know, like, I don't know, we might have like some landscape work that needs to be done. So he'll just, he'll put in landscape, blah, blah, blah. But it's something that you have to get a very clear understanding. And we're going to talk about working with contractors in a minute too. But I'm also a fan that depending on what your experience level, bless you, Ian. Hey, thanks for showing up today, bud. I'm just teasing you, man. I'm just teasing you. What was I talking about? Contractors. I was going somewhere else. Oh, yes. Thank you. Is the experience, your experience level will determine kind of if you always use a contractor or if you don't always use a contractor. Because some of the houses that you buy, literally all they need is carpet, paint, maybe paint the cabinets, change out some hardware, change out some vents, get somebody to come in and replace the countertops, some doors. A lot of them are that way. I do a ton of them like that it's super like in and out, $12,000 to $18,000 in and out, make a quick $20,000. And those you can be in and out of in 2 or 3 weeks. You follow me? They're super easy. They're super fast. For me, I do not hire a contractor for that job. Listen, there's no need for me to. Because what? I'm not messing with electrical. I'm not messing with plumbing. I'm not altering the structure of the house at all. You with me on this? I'm just doing what? Cosmetic work. That's all I'm doing, right? Now, there's some techniques to this. Like in my market in Alabama, we have a very strong contractor union board. I mean, it is strong to the point that they regulated investors from buying houses, fixing them up, and selling themselves under what's called an owner-builder permit. So you guys you'll have this in your market too. If you own it, you can go pull your own permits. And you can do your work and have it inspected and hire your subs and all that. Well, in Alabama, lovely Alabama, right? It's got its good and it's got its bad. We have a very strong lobbyist group for our contractors. So they filed and passed several years back that if you are an owner builder, meaning that you own the property, but you've bought it as a non-owner occupant, and you pull your own permit to do the job, you cannot sell that house for 1 year. Smack the handcuffs right on you. And we don't want to hold it for a year, do we? So they restrict us on that. They cloud the title. Now, is it good for contractors? Yeah. It gives them a ton of business, right? But you just got to check this in your market. You may not have these regulatory acts. We do. Like one of the things that, is kind of crazy to me. Mr. Ian, can you grab a mic real quick? Look, I just threw a curveball all in his day right there. He's like, what, Mike? What? I got to what? Where am I going? Hey, Ian, come up here. I want you to talk to him about what you were sharing with me about contractors in Texas. This is crazy, guys.
Well, basically in Texas, you don't have to be a licensed contractor.
What?
No, not in the state of Texas. But you do have to be licensed to pull permits for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, things like that.
But you could go start a construction company without even being a licensed GC. All you need is a truck. Yeah, and some tools.
Yeah, and another thing you want to watch out for.
What was that, Brian? And a dog.
And a dog, yeah.
And a cooler.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask contractors for referrals. If they can't give you a couple referrals, then you just don't need to work with them. Because I don't know about Alabama, but in Texas, there's probably more bad apples than there are good ones.
Oh, that's Alabama too.
Yeah.
Listen, it's anywhere you go, man. And I don't want to discourage you guys. There are some really good contractors out there that are really building a business from this. But most of them are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
They have a different type of lifestyle. When they get a check, they run through it in the next 2 days. I mean, it's different for them. And, they haven't figured out they haven't figured out our slogan, getting your life right, right? They haven't figured that out yet. So they don't organize very well. They go take a deposit from this job to pay the bills for the labor on this job. And then they go, you follow me? So it gives other contractors kind of a bad rap, But like Ian said, there's really good ways to kind of filter them out, and that's through referrals. Any contractors in here? Brian. Oh, we got three.
How have you grown your business over the years? Taking care of people?
See,
taking care of
that
customers?
Like that right there tells you that you're probably doing a stellar job. If all his business is from referrals, that means if somebody's like, man, I like this guy, use him. I like this guy. But you probably get paid top notch too. He's like, yeah.
It's still not enough.
I'm with you. So the point is that every state's different. And the more that you can hold a contractor accountable, the better you're going to be. And let me tell you something. A good contractor will already come in prepared to be accountable. You understand? They're okay with signing contracts, right? It's part of it. They're okay with it. When you get one that doesn't want to sign a contract, then that is a red flag all day long.
Yeah, they'll set you up for change orders to make more money off of you. If you don't know what you're doing and like you miss a lot of these things, we call, once the job's done, you'll have to create a punch list, and that it costs money and materials to go through these things. So the more detailed you are up front, I like having contractors put their fees in there, line item everything. I mean, even when it comes down to the tape that tapes down the paper after you put the flooring down. So the good ones will actually line item all that because that's an expense.
Well, and they have a spread. They have like a software, that they plug everything into, and it'll print it all out for you. The ones that just have the Staples invoice sheet. Yeah, I'll do the job, $17,000. Okay, what does that include? Everything you want. I do it all for you. Everything you need. I got you, right? I mean, trust me, I hear it. Everything you need, man.
So one of the things that we like to do is, even on the jobs that we have currently, that we have contractors that work for us, we'll still get outside bids coming in because we call equalize the bids. So if I'm going to get a flooring bid, like one of the things that we like to do is hand scrape hardwood floors. Sometimes the houses we buy will have original hardwoods underneath the carpet that's real nasty, but we don't like to tear it out. So we'll add hardwood and we'll resand everything. But anyway, my point is what we'll do is we'll have our crews come in, give us a bid, and then we'll bring a couple more in. One will be low, one will be middle, one will be really high. So we're trying to figure out, okay, who's crazy, who's honest, and who's just trying to...
Who's bidding everything and who's just short bidding.
Because sometimes they'll underbid to get the job, but they're setting you up for more costs down the road.
Change orders. And listen, let me tell you something. You want to talk about, I have experienced with some contractors, I got to keep saying that, not all of them, they are the masters at guilt trips. Masters at it. Masters of it. Oh, well, John over here borrowed my truck and I can't show up for 3 days. And, oh, man, I got pulled over and now all my money's gone. They'll try everything in the world to get more money out of you. And let me tell you something. When you get one that's good and you like his work and you like his price, but he's poor at managing his money, that's something that you can work with him on by standing your ground. You with me? Standing your ground. And I got one guy like that. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, you do great work. And I like you as a person. And you do fabulous work, but you're just awful at managing money. I'm like, man, you can work on that. And because he's always trying to come back and get more money. And I pay in what's called draws. I give him a third up front, I give him a third halfway through, and I hold a third until it's done. And that last third, they will try to get as much out of it as possible. And I'm like, nope, read your contract. Oh, Zack, come on, man. I got to pay people. Well, you should have thought about that. It's not I hired you and we signed a contract. Man, but come up, man. Well, I can't eat tonight. Well, go down to the soup kitchen. Like, go get some ramen noodles. Like Walmart, get a whole box for like $3. You know, like that's not my problem. My problem is I hired you to do a job, and my job is to pay you based on this contract. And I'm holding my end of the bargain. You hold your end. That's where I detach the emotional aspect. And listen, and a lot of times when you're dealing with, some contractors, not all contractors. Let me make sure I say that. Because I'm giving you the bad right now, and then I'm about to give you the good. They tend to have, maybe subconsciously, maybe some of them consciously, a bullying type of state. Hey, this is why we're going to do this. This is how it's going to be done. No, it ain't. Like this. That's why we do a contract, because I can always go back and say, what? Look at the contract. Look at the contract. Look at the contract. Look at the contract. Okay. Now, let's talk about the other side. With really good contractors, you build a relationship early on. You communicate very well early on, and what happens is you never even have an issue where you have to keep communicating. They understand that they're going to work with you based off of a contract. They understand their draw, portion. They understand if something arises that needs to be changed, they come to you and say, look, we didn't talk about this. If you want me to do this, it's going to cost extra. Instead of just doing it and then coming to you saying, oh, well, that was $800 for me to do that. Well, why didn't you ask me? Well, it had to be done. Well, no, it didn't have to be done if it's going to cost $800. You know what I mean? So they're very good, because here's why. They know how to run a business. They understand that if they do a good job for you today on this job, you'll give them another job and another job and another job and another job. And the reality is a good contractor only needs 4 or 5 really good investors. You with me? They get 4 or 5 really good investors doing 30, 50 houses a year. Is that contractor busy? That guy's smoking, right? I mean, that is, 200 plus houses a year that contractor has landed with 5 investors running multiple crews, managing a growth process. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that has the skill sets to be able to be on the job and communicate. And so it's important. And that's why that it's good for you to understand your cost breakdown like you see on the screen. Because this will give you an idea and an understanding of what things will cost for you. So I give you an example sheet there. And what this is for you, I know some of you are like, well, there's no numbers in it. Well, because I don't know the numbers in your market. But can you go find these numbers? Yes, and you plug these numbers into your market. Here, a rule of thumb that we have managed to figure out over the years is that most contractors, when they bid your job, they're adding somewhere between 15 and 20% to the overall bid for their service fees, right? So if you're trying to figure out, well, what would my cost be per square foot to remodel a house? Just a normal house, right? Carpet, flooring, tile, fixtures, appliances, countertops, painting cabinets, knobs, lighting, plumbing, fixtures, maybe a roof, nothing major, no foundation work, things like that. Get 3 contractors to bid it. Subtract 15% off of that number. And then divide that number by the square footage of the property. You with me? So get 3.
Say that again.
I can see their faces. They're like, what? All right. So get 3 contractors to bid your jobs. Okay? Same job, same process, same material. Everything needs to be apple to apple. You with me? Get them to bid it. Take that number and subtract 15% off of that. And then divide that number by the square footage of the property that they're bidding. Okay? So let's say the bid came in at $40,000. We take off 15%. You're talking 6. You're down to $34,000. Let's say the square footage of the property is 2,000 square feet. So 34,000 divided by 2 is not 17. No, yes, it is. $17 a square foot. She's like, what's he talking about? $17 a square foot. You follow me? So then I take that number from all three bids, and let's say one's at 17, one's at 18, one's at 16, then what do I know? Then I'm right there. I'm going to be between $16 and $18 a square foot to remodel houses. Now, I'm not doing this to not hire a contractor. I'm doing this to understand what would my number be when I start bidding on things if it's a small job that I don't need a contractor on. Are we clear? So then when I go out and start bidding other jobs, I can say, okay, well, that looks like an easy deal. I'm going to take the square footage. Remember we were running the numbers yesterday? And I would take that right over here where it says rehab. Oh, Dan, can I get a switch over? When it says rehab, I'm going to take that number, and that's how I'm going to find that number. You with me? That number is going to come from me finding a house. Look, this could be any house, guys. This could be a house that you find on the MLS, anything that needs work, and you just go get 3 contractors to meet you out there to run some numbers for you so that you can figure out your per square foot price, okay, in your market. Are we clear? Because some of you were asking me, well, how'd you come up with that number? How'd you come up with, well, mine's a lot less than this now, but I'm around $12 on most of my stuff. But this is how, over time, you'll be able to do it. Now, how many of you are already doing some fix and flips in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? All right, so 6. So the 6 of you that are already doing this, you need to go back to like the last 3, 4, 5, 6 that you've done, and you need to go look at your total rehab budget that you paid for that project and divide it by the square footage of each one of those houses so that you can see where the trend is. Unless you're the rehabber that really don't have a plan, you just buy one. It could be a big one, a little one, or it could be one falling down. I mean, if they're all over the place, your numbers are going to be all over the place. So you got to, find some consistency in the ones that you're analyzing for the square footage. But we stay in the same markets and flip pretty much the same houses. We know, unless we go into like the medical district or we go into what's called Little 5 Points, we know that our numbers are going to get to about $20 to $25 a square foot in those areas, just because it's just one of those markets. It's real trendy. You got to do a little bit more upgrades that you would normally do. Now, if I move past that medium home price, my market's 150. So let's say if I'm buying houses that are around that 200 to 300 price range, then I know what? My remodel per square foot is not $12. For me, when I move up over that range, I'm pushing $20 a square foot because why? That's a higher end home in my market, $300,000. So I got to use higher end materials. And so it offsets my square foot price. So that's something that I want you to pay attention to. The other thing is you've got to make sure that you fill this sheet in. So fill that in. There's also a holding cost per day, and this can add up. So a holding cost per day, I'm going to show you those numbers and how we break those down in just a minute. Your timeline matrix, that is the thing that you've got to stay on track with. And your timeline matrix is the time that you allow yourself to buy it, fix it, and sell it. And let me tell you something. If you think that you're going to buy a rehab and you're not going to manage that project and it's going to get done, you're mistaken. You're majorly mistaken. If you think you're going to buy a rehab in another market and not hire a project manager or a contractor, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. There has to be somebody that has an incentive to make that job go. So I'll give you an example. I like to rehab in my own market very much. But will I get a deal in another market? Yeah, I will. But let me tell you something. I give that contractor an incentive. I give that contractor an incentive. Look, this is what I'm going to pay you, but if you tell me it's going to be done in 5 weeks, if you get it done before 5 weeks, I'm going to give you 10% of the profits that come off this deal. You follow me? And the reason I do that is because why? Now he's going to get it done. And he's going to be like, because here's why, I can't be there to manage it. So I do that with stuff that's afar from me that I'm not going to drive to. Stuff locally, man, I can go over and throw rocks at them. Or a brick. Or I've been known to rip a door off of a hinge one time. I was pretty mad that day.
Finding contractors outside of your area.
Yes. Well, there's a few of them. There's some that you can get that are kind of vetted. They're going to be more expensive, but those are like Angie's List, things like that, if you've ever heard of that. But if I was you, I would probably, number one, go to my agents in the area, find out which ones are working with investors and who they use. And number two is I would contact the RIAs in those areas to figure out what contractors are working with what investors in the group. Those would be my two main fields.
When you made that offer to someone, have you ever had someone do skimpy work just to finish on time, to finish early?
Well, it has to have you have to have a final walkthrough, and that's typically. This is another thing. I always, and I know this may sound as an extra expense, but it's a good one. I always add in an extra $350 at the end of the project because I order an inspection on every property when I'm finished with it. And here's why.
That's a huge, huge golden nugget right there, guys.
And here's why I order an inspection on the end of the job is because what's my buyer going to do when they go in contract? They're going to order an inspection. So I want to order a final inspection, and I tell that inspector, you go through this thing like a fine-tooth comb. And they go through it. And before I make my final payment to that contractor, I get my inspection report back. And because remember, I got one when I bought it, right? And I handed that inspection report to that contractor. And I said, look, these are the things we got to get fixed. And all this other stuff I want you to do too. And so at the end, when I get my inspection report back, I can go back and say, look, you didn't fix this. You didn't get this done. Look, this is cracking. That's not working. So I'm able to hold them accountable before final draw. Okay?
So why do you think that would be important at the end of the deal before you put it on the market? All of that's valid, yes. But once you get a property under contract and that buyer orders that inspection, you do not want to have a whole laundry list of issues and things.
It runs them off.
It scares them. They get really uneasy. The next thing you know, you're trying to spend more money. You can avoid a lot of problems.
Here's another little nugget for you too. And where's my agent at? Where's Jan at? I knew you'd be sitting by Jan.
There she is.
So listen to this, and you could acknowledge this. But from an agent point of view, when you're showing a buyer a remodeler's house, and it looks good on the surface, and then they order an inspection, and it comes back like great. There's like nothing wrong with it. You then are like, man, that rehabber did a good job. So when you see another one or he's got another one, you feel confident that you're going to be able to bring a buyer over there and it's going to be good work, right? But if you go over to one and you get an inspection report like he's talking, man, you get a bad taste in your mouth. Yeah, you're like, man, that guy, he does shabby work. Like, just like in my market, there's a guy called, he's a builder. His name's Jeff Adam Homes. Like, everybody knows, you don't buy Jeff Adam home. Like, the guy's houses, as soon as he's done building them, go down in value. Like, they're just built bad. Oh, you don't want to be that rehabber. You know what I mean? So anyways, my point is, order an inspection before you buy it. Do your remodel and order an inspection when you're done. It clarifies a lot of the, well, what if I don't know, I can't see things, right? So always do that. Gold nugget for you.
Oh, you got a question over here?
With your materials in your rehabs, do you use like a template or standard material?
I do. I'm told all the time I should stop. But I'm a very I buy all the same floors. I buy all the same paint for the walls. I buy all the same trim.
But you got to understand something. He's doing a lot of volume. And when you're doing
I
volume,
have a 4,000 square foot warehouse that I buy in bulk and I just shove it in there. Or let's say I go down to a surplus store and they've got this amazing engineered floor on sale right now because it's liquidating at 69 cents a square foot. I'll go in and say, how many pallets do you have? We have 8. I'll take them all so that my competition can't buy it.
And he gets a smoking price.
Yeah. But that's down the line.
Whenever you're doing your first rehab, I mean, you can, just depending on your budget and then the level of the finish out that you're trying to achieve in a house.
Now, Ian does some really high-end stuff. And I
was showing him some pictures.
You're going to see some. I'm going to show you some of mine. And mine's are nice. I mean, mine's are nice, man. I mean, they're nice. I make money on them. But then you look at some of his stuff and you're like, whoa. He just has a design look. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go in and I'm like, Dapper tan, brown floors, let's move. Like everything is, I'm like, neutral colors. He comes in, he's like putting barn doors on things, and he's like, oh, we need to add this column here. And I'm like, I would have never thought about that. I'm like, let's just get it done and sold.
We do a lot of restructuring. So restructuring is cutting walls out, opening up, raising ceilings. You know, if there's a galley kitchen, you know, houses in the 50s that have those long galley kitchens, we'll just rip everything down that whole side and open up the whole kitchen, put an island in. So you just really got to understand your market and the demand for the buyers in any local market.
Yeah, and he's
area.
in the Dallas market, which means his properties have to be at a little bit of a different level. I'm in a market where, I mean, our builders put out Dole houses. You know, so if I had granite, man, I'm top of the line. I mean, am I right, Don? I mean, it's sad, but it's the truth, right? But it's made up in volume. So, and then we're going to go in the dealings with the contractor. So this is some of the numbers that I've showed you on the screen where I've gotten out of my market. So like if you're in like the Midwest, or if you're around Texas or in the Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee markets, these numbers would be pretty congruent.
And all you got to do is just walk through Home Depot for a couple hours with this sheet in your hand and just start writing numbers down. There's going to be some things that you're not going to be able to get an accurate number, like the HVAC system. They're going to be different, you know, depending on if you're way up north and you got boilers in a basement versus furnaces in an attic. So some of those numbers you're going to be able to get over time once you start getting bids from other contractors and subs. But 90% of all that you can get just through walking through your local Home Depot.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. And just talking to a contractor. Hey, look, on a 2,000 square foot house, what would the tonnage need for that, and how much would that cost? Right? Is that somebody's phone?
Somebody's ringing.
Point them out, guys. Point them out. Point them out. Look, they're like, I ain't no rat. All right. Holding costs per day. This is important. This is how I hold my contractors accountable. Okay? So in my contracts, my independent contract agreement, I have in there a line that says time is of the essence. Do you know why we put that in for contract law? Because if you don't put it in, time isn't of the essence. And it's just the way it is. So we put that in there, and in that line, it simply says that this project is going to take, let's say the contractor says, Zack, I'll come lay all that tile for you, and it's going to take 4 weeks to do that. Or 4 weeks. 4 days to do that. 4 weeks, I'd have fired him already. It's going to take 4 days to put the kitchen, the bathrooms, the foyer, you know, the shower, the tub. It's going to take 4 days to lay all that tile. I say, okay, great. So when I get him to sign his independent contractor agreement, in the time is of the essence mark, it says time to finish project 4 days. And then underneath that, it says every day past 4 days, I'm going to charge you or deduct a cost per day fee. You with me? So $82.45 is my cost per day that he pushes that project out. It also has languages in there like, you know, if Mother Nature affects us, or, you know, whatever, other things outside of his standing. Now, I'll give you some things that have happened to me in the past. Benny, you're going to be my contractor. Benny, where's your wife today? She's not feeling well? She'll be here. Oh, he's like, she'll be here. Okay, so Benny, you're my tile guy. Benny, you tell me it's going to take 4 days to do the job. I say, okay, Benny, I'm good with you. I'm good with the numbers. Here, I need you to sign this contract. Benny looks down and goes, what do you mean you're going to take $82.45 off a day after that? Well, what if that doesn't seem fair. Well, what if it's raining? Well, good thing the tile's inside the house, right? Well, what if a tree falls on the house? Well, that's why it says Mother Nature acts, whatever the language is in there. You're not liable, Benny. And Benny goes, well, I just don't know if I like this whole $82.45 taken off my bill at the end. Well, Benny, how many days do you need? If it's not 4 days, how many days do you need? Benny says, well, I need 5 days. Okay, great. I go back, and what do? I put 5 days in there, and I go, Benny, on day 6, if you're not finished, I'm going to bill $82.45 off of your final bill. Well, what do you mean? What if it takes longer than 5 days? I simply say, Benny, stop lying to me then. How many days is it going to take you? Do you understand? Like, I need to know how many days it's going to take him because I have to build my timelines off of that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to hold him to 4 if he needs 6. If he needs 6, tell me 6. But as soon as he tells me 6, guess where it's going? It's going in the contract. You with me? Because I am the type of person that says, if it's in writing, we now have a contract. And I bill him the per day. So if he goes over, I don't know, let's say he goes over 2 days, then what? If I only owed him $500 left, I don't owe him $500 anymore. I owe him $500 minus $164. And you want to talk about a contractor that will step up quick because they're like, man, I got one more day, let's go. But here's what I've noticed over the years. They will procrastinate, they will push out, not the good ones, the ones that are kind of trying to get it through. This right here, that'll stop them in their place real quick. Because now they have to do what? Give up money because they feel like they could have just pushed you out as much as possible. What a lot of them don't want to recognize, even though I know they know it, is that when they push something out, it pushes out the whole job in some cases. Except for like my landscaper. I mean, my landscaper's not affecting anybody outside, but he's got to get in and get it landscaped and everything away from the house so the painter can come in. So if he drags there, I could have a hard time getting my painter out there. But other things, there's a timeline for everything, right? Like if I'm going to do electrical work or plumbing work, do I need to do that before the sheetrock and the painting? Yeah. Look, a friend of mine calls me up and says, Zack, can you come by my house and look at this job this contractor's doing? I said, sure, I'll come on by. I come by, and she's got a gorgeous home. It's got like all the wood beams in it, and it has like the wood. It's just, I love wood. And this house is beautiful. And she's like, look, we're remodeling my laundry room. Right. Like, we're remodeling a laundry room. And I'm like, awesome, let's go look at it. This laundry room is like the size of some people's kitchens, right, or more. And first thing I notice is these cheap cabinets, and she's got 20-foot ceilings in her laundry room. And he puts these cabinets up about 10 foot high, and they stop. And I'm like, what is that? She's like, well, that's just part of the problem. She's like, he's supposed to move all the plumbing from this wall to this wall so that I can have a workstation and a sink and all this stuff. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's nice. Well, what's he going to do that? She said, well, I think it's weird because he pulled all these old cabinets off. He patched all the sheetrock and painted it all already. And then he told me that it didn't matter because then he was going to come back and move the plumbing later. And I thought, so this is obviously a guy that's just trying to do something to keep her at ease. The sad part is it was a $20,000 remodel for her laundry room. And she gave him $10,000, and 9 weeks later, that was all he had done. So, and I asked her, I said, well, where's your contract with him? Well, I don't have one. I said, okay. I said, well, when's he supposed to come over here? And she's like, well, he's supposed to come by tomorrow. I said, well, I'll come talk to him. So I was there with him, and, well, let's just say it didn't go very well. So, he didn't like it. I acted like I was her brother. I was like, look, this is my sister. I do this for a living, and because he was the type. Anyways, we won't go about that. But the point is that this is a number you need to calculate. A lot of contractors don't like it because why? It holds them accountable. But if they say, and a lot of them will do this, they'll tell you 4 days, and then when you hand them the contract with the 4 days in there, and they'll go, oh, wait a minute. I'm okay to change it. They'll say, look, man, I don't know if I can guarantee 4 days, and I don't like you taking money out. And I'll simply say, what? Okay. Well, how many days do you need? And if they go, well, maybe 5 or 6. And I'll say, okay, well, why don't we go with 6 so that you have enough time? I'm not trying to be a stickler here. You understand? I'm not trying to take money from them. I'm just trying to do what? Run a project. You with me? I'm just trying to run a project efficiently and cost effective, and not be ran out by the contractor. So that's your timeline matrix, which is the last sheet that we talked about already a little earlier. One of the things on the second sheet that I want you guys to just take home with you whenever you're ready is that's called a release of liens. It's something that you got to sign, guys. You got to get them to sign it when they're done, that the work is over. And I'm going to explain why. So this is something that I got educated on. This is about lien rights. Oh, the lovely ability to put a lien on anyone's property is crazy. So I had a roofer come do a job for me, $3,500 job. Does the roof, does a good job. I pay him $3,500 and he moves on. Like 5 or 6 months later, he calls me up and says, hey, you owe me another $500. And by this time, I done forgot who this guy was. I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I did your roof out on this job. Actually, I'm going to show you. Well, no, it's not in this one. No, I don't have one in this one. He said, I did your job out on, I think it was the Lexington job. And I was like, oh, yeah, you did the roof out there. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, what's going on? What do you mean I owe you $500? He goes, well, you owe me $500. I said, well, the invoice was $3,500 and I paid you $3,500. He goes, no, I miscalculated my materials and I realized that I was $500 short on billing you for materials. And all I could do was laugh. I was like, man, you need a new calculator then. That don't sound like my problem. That sounds like your problem, not mine. And he goes, well, if you don't pay me $500, I'm going to lien your property. And I'm like, you can't. Like, I have an invoice and I've paid you. And I hang up on the guy. Well, now I'm starting to think, here's my risk management kicking in, right? I'm like, well, can he lien my property? Like, even after I paid him? So I go down and call my attorney, Matt Harrison. I've been working with for years. I go, Matt, I got to ask you something. I said, I got a contractor threatening to put a lien on my property. And Matt, well, Zack, did you pay him? I'm like, yeah, I paid him, Matt. And he's like, oh, well, then what's his reason? I said, well, he says that I shorted him, but I have an invoice for $3,500 and I have, the bank statements and everything that shows I paid him $3,500. He goes, okay, well, that's good. I said, but he's saying that he can lien my property and I'm trying to sell the house. And he goes, oh, well, he can, Zack. And I said, what? So I go down to the county office and talk to the little lady, the clerk at the counter, and I go over there and I lean in the counter down there in Madison and I said, hey, ma'am, I said, what exactly do I need to turn into you if I want to put a lien on a property? She said, oh, I just need to fill this paperwork out. I'd never forget. She was smacking gum like a camel. Like I just wanted to snatch it out of there. But she goes, oh, you just need to fill out this paper. And literally all it had on it was the address of the property, how much I wanted to lien the property, and who I was and for what reason. That was it. That was all that was on it. And I said, and I looked at this form and I said, that's all I need? She said, yeah. I said, so I could put a lien on anybody's house? And she said, yeah, pretty much. I said, what's your address? She said, well, sir, are you going to put a lien on that property or not? I said, no, I'm not. I'm not today. And so then I obviously have to go back down to the attorney's office. And now I'm mad. I'm mad. Because I started on the drive to the attorney's office, I'm thinking, how many people is this going on with that don't understand? Right? And Matt tells me, he goes, oh yeah, there's crooks. That they'll drive through neighborhoods, and when they see the pending sign that agents stick on the for sale sign, they go down and file a $1,500 lien, because when it gets to closing and it pops up, the sellers don't want to have to go fight it and pull it off. They just pay it to get it closed. Yeah. So what's the first thing I told my agent to stop doing? Don't ever stick a pending sign on my front yard ever again. I said, I don't care if you're trying to get more business, not at the cost of some crook putting a lien on my property. So, but Matt walks me through this. He's like, well, Zack, this is how it works. He's like, they file it, and now you have to prove that it's a false filing. I said, so what does that mean? He goes, oh, I just need the invoice and I need the check. I said, oh, it's that easy. He goes, yeah, and then I'll file against it and we'll get it cleared up. He's like, but it could take 3 to 6 weeks to get it cleared up. So do you see why sellers just pay it to move on, right? And I said, so that's it. I'm out. Like, I got to give you $100 or whatever it is you're charging me, 200. I don't even know what he charges me to do this. Yeah, probably like $300-500 to just check his email. I don't know. And he's like, well, no, slow down, Zach. He's like, we can get you paid. Get me paid? All right, I'm listening. He goes, the way it works is that if it was falsely executed a lien on your property and you can prove that it wasn't, there was no need for it because you fulfilled your obligation, you can get 3 times the amount of the lien that's been placed on your property. And I said, oh, I hope he put it for the whole amount. And I said, Matt, I got to go. And so I'm driving down the road. I'm trying to find this guy's phone number. And I'm calling him up. And I'm like, hey, man. I'm like, hey, this is Zack Childress. Hey, yeah, I got that property. You're just going to put a lien on my property. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm doing that. I said, man, you know what? I understand when I sell the property, then obviously that's where the lien's going to take into effect. I said, you know what? Go ahead and put it on there for the whole amount. And he was like, what? And I said, yeah, just put it on there. I was like, I'll talk to you later. And I hung up. Praying that this guy did what? Put it on for the whole amount. So now this property goes in contract. We're going to sell it. Guess what pops up? The lien. So I go, Matt's like, yep, he put the lien on there. I said, Matt, how much did he put on there? The 500? He goes, no, 3,500. I was like, let's go get him. Let's go get him. I was like, I'll take my $9,000-10,000 right now. Now, obviously, he ain't got the money to pay me, but you understand we were able to use the law of fear against him when he was trying to use the fear of the lien against us, right? And he obviously removes it. But moving forward, now that I understand how liens work in my area, and I'm sure you guys probably want to research your area too, anytime a contractor gets mad or they want to threaten me with a lien, I go, you know what, I understand. Add a couple of thousand for yourself when you put it on there. And like it confuses the living dough out of them. They're like, what? Because it doesn't scare me anymore. Like if I know I'm right, I'm like, they're like, well, I'm gonna put a lien for $1,000. I'm like, just make it an even 5. Just make it an even 5. Like I'm ready because I'm coming at you, man. And I don't say a word. And I'm like, please let them put that on there. Please let them put that on there. Because when they get that letter that explains the law and lien rights and how we've proven that we were in the right and that we'll be happy to be taking them to court for our $15,000 plus attorney fees and blah, 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 they're like, what? Because you know why? Because, listen, it's been manipulated in the wrong way by some contractors, right, to scare homeowners. And so just to give you an update, that's a little bit about what I learned about lien laws in Alabama. So I would absolutely encourage you to do what? Check the lien laws in your market. And can anybody do it for no reason at all? Right?
And you have that lien release in there, right?
Yeah. So that prevents that. You know what I mean? If they sign off on that, now you have that to, basically even stop it. You could go down and show them, they'll pull it off. But what may happen and what I have found is when you fire a contractor. And here's what I've learned with that. A lot of people don't want to fire a contractor because they're afraid of that. Oh, but what if they do this or come back? Listen, I don't care. I have realized that I would rather lose $500 or $800 to get somebody else to come in than keep somebody that's no good. Right? I'd rather take the hit and move on. So here's what I learned through the attorney and doing all this. When you fire a contractor and they're threatening liens, you have to get another contractor or two to come in and basically reassess the project, give you a written quote of what they have to do and what they have to clean up from the other person and take pictures of where the other person left off. That's all we need. If we have that, we have evidence of where they left, and we have a new assessment from another, tile guy, then we can turn that in and say, look, this is why we fired him. This is why we're not paying him. So this is why the lien needs to be removed. That's all I need. You got aha. That's an aha moment, right? So, but you got to check your states on this, right? I can only speak to you from what states I know. I know that this works in, these laws are the same here in Mississippi, or not here, but in Alabama and Mississippi. I know that I know the lien execution is the same in Georgia. I don't know about the firing of a contractor in Georgia. I know Texas has the same lien placement. You can just put a lien on a property in Texas. Yeah, I know it's the same there. And I know in California it's the same. Those are markets that I've all done fix and flips in. So just check your area, okay? All right, things to do before you close. Inspection. If anybody ever tells you don't inspect a property or don't put inspection on your offer, I think it's the most ridiculous thing that anyone could ever tell you as an educator to you. Because they're supposed to be helping you stay safe. And if they say to you, oh, but if you put on that offer, if you put on that offer, it's contingent on inspection, you won't get it, then guess what? I don't want it. You understand? I don't want it. And the reason they would say that to you is because they live in a world that is completely dependent on agents. Are we clear? Because if you're making offers to private seller leads, does it matter? No, it does not matter, because that homeowner just wants to sell it. They expect you to do an inspection. But if you're making offers to banks, and that's the only thing you got, let me tell you something. You're never going to scale your business. A mentor of mine once told me that if all you do is depend on agents to bring you deals, you're a parasite investor. That's what you are. Because if that agent stops bringing you deals, guess what? You die. You with me? I mean, it was hard, but I got what he was saying to me. I was never going to grow if I was solely dependent on an agent to feed me. I had to go stand on my own and become a big boy one day and do my own marketing, right? And get my own leads. And so that is a concept. And I'll also tell you this. Do I buy from agents? Of course I do. Do I buy REOs? Of course I do. Do I put contingent on inspection in every single one of my offers? Absolutely I do. Absolutely I do. And if the agent says to me, well, Zack, there's offers going in that don't have that on there, I say, well, good for them. I hope they don't fall on their face. Because I'm not ever going to buy a house that I can't inspect unless I'm buying it at the auction so cheap that I can take a worst case scenario. Because at the auctions, they don't really give you the ability to go what? Inspect the property unless you're buying at what type of auction? We talked about this on Friday. A private auction, that's right. Because then they have open houses, you can walk through with an inspector, you have 30 days to close on it, and you can inspect it. You with me? It's big difference. So, pulp inspection, countertop quotes, refinish cabinet quotes, roof quotes, plumbing quotes, electrical quotes, tile quote, carpet quote, trim quote, HVAC quote, landscape quote, paint quote.
Say all that again 3 times really fast.
Which part?
All of it.
Oh. Finishing quote. Tub refinishing quote. That's actually something you should highlight. We do a lot of this. In our markets, we don't rip tubs out just because we see them doing it on TV. We have a company called Get a Grip. And it's really cool because they come in and they resurface an entire tub and it looks brand new. Like for $300, $350 or $400, they'll take a whole bed. Like for instance, in my market, we get a lot of old houses that have like pink tiles halfway up the walls in the bathrooms and blue ones and green ones and orange ones and yellow ones and you name it. You're like, whoo. I mean, I guess that was the style back then, man. Like people would be like, look at my bathroom, it's pink. And my carpet's pink, and my curtains are pink, and my toothbrush is pink, and his bathroom is blue, and we got it dialed in, you know. Well, that was the day. I wish I lived back then, though. Seems like life was so much easier.
I have a short
then.
sale going on with
a
bathrooms
house like that?
Yeah, it's an $800,000 house.
But this guy will come in, instead of ripping off all that tile and rebuilding all the sheetrock and redoing all the tubs and ripping the tubs out, he'll come in and re-epoxy all this tile and the tubs, and it literally, any color you want, white, cream, brown, black, purple, blue, whatever. But we always go with white, and it looks like we just put brand new tile through the whole thing. Brand new tubs in it. It's amazing. I'll show you some in what we did in some of the fix and flips that I'm going to show you. Sheetrock quotes, contractor quotes, city quotes. City quotes would be what? Permits. Concrete quotes, fence and deck quotes. So if you're managing it yourself, you see why you pay your contractor? Because this is a full-time job. So when you have the right contractor, this is what your contractor's doing, right? He's getting all these quotes. He's bringing people in. He or she is managing these people. He or she is making sure that they're on track and they're doing their jobs like they're supposed to. Got me? So, guidelines to dealing with contractors. Guidelines to dealing with contractors. Now, I don't want to scare anybody here. Look at there, my contractors done called me.
You get that guy squared away on that property we went through a couple weeks ago?
Oh, yeah. I sure did. You know how I did it?
How'd you do it?
I fired him.
How'd he take that?
There wasn't much he could take.
What was his reaction?
Well, man, I still got to finish the job. I said, no, you don't. He said, well, what about the other money? I said, well, you only got that if you finish the job. I said, but I tell you what, you can go put a lien on the property. Add $5,000 for yourself. Listen, they don't scare me anymore. Listen, when people, and I say this in the nicest way possible, but the old saying is, as you make more money, people want to get it from you, right? And how do they try to get it from you? They try to sue you all the time. Like, that's why I have an attorney on staff. I probably get a lawsuit every month that comes through. Like, I don't even worry about it anymore. I'm just like, okay, whatever. And it's for, like, the stupidest stuff. Just weird stuff. And I'm probably being zealous. I don't get a lawsuit every month. But I've gotten to the point now, like, I'll never forget the first time I got sued. Remember I told you guys about it, the $100,000 assignment fee? I'm moving out of California, and I'm packing up, and the door rings. I open the door, and the guy goes, "You've been served." And I was like, I gotta go to court. Oh my gosh. I was so terrified. I'll never forget, my stomach felt like it was in knots. Like I was nauseous, man. And I got through that one. And, other things have happened with contractors and life and old partners and you name it. You're in business, doing as much business as I am. People try to come at you. And so now it's like, yeah, whatever, man. Here's the attorney. I'm like, here's the attorney. That's like when these contractors, I'll come get. All right, here's my attorney's number. Like, there you go. I pay him over $100,000 a year to do this, so here you go. But yeah, I just had to get rid of him, man. That was it.
That house is a mess. Holes in the floor, cabinets all over the place.
Yeah, it was it was a 4-week job. He was 2 weeks into it. He'd already restructured some walls, reran some electrical. He had painted the outside. He had painted the inside. He had already gotten carpet down. He had already got some cabinets positioned and got some new cabinets in. But he had 2 weeks left. And there was no way he was going to finish that in 2 weeks. And we agreed that he would be in and out in 4 weeks, not 6, which I think he needed another 4 weeks to finish him. So I just wasn't in the middle of trying to work it out with him, so I just fired him. And the biggest reason I fired him was because he wasn't taking ownership. When I asked him what was going on, he was like, oh, well, we had to wait. Oh, and the master bathroom wasn't even put together. We blew out a closet and added a bigger bathroom. He was like, oh, well, we've been waiting on this cabinet to come in. And I said, and you can't hang molding or put doors in,
finish the flooring,
or finish the flooring,
kitchen,
or do some land, I don't have a cabinet. I'm waiting on that cabinet. It's coming. I was just like that, and the fact that it smelled like cigarettes in there.
Oh yeah, they were smoking in there.
And this is a nice house. This was the first house that I went. This was, huh? Yes. Yeah. Remember the first thing I walked in, I was bitching. It smells like smoke. I got to sell this thing. I don't care if you smoke, go outside. Not in my house. And I was mad, actually. I was pretty red. Man, it was on the bus tour. On the bus tour, I not only take you guys to see houses, but I take you through all my projects too. So you can actually see, hey, look, I don't just talk about it. I actually do it, right? But I was mad though, man. And I left there. I was on the phone with him, man, quick like.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be there.
And he bolted.
He left
because he
before we got
calls me
there.
at lunch. He's like, "Hey, what time you guys coming by?" I'm like, "We'll be there in 45 minutes." Okay. He's
Gone.
So anyways, my thing is if he would have owned it and just told me the real, I'd have probably kept him around. But because he was making excuses, I realized right then that he was always going to make excuses, and I just had to kill it. So hire him slowly, fire him fast. That's right. Must be able to work on your job. That's a big one for me. Must be able to meet timelines. Make them aware of your holding costs per day. Have contractors buy materials as much as possible, okay? Give them draws on their money. Always be at the job site early. Here's something that drives me crazy. Is if I bring a contractor on a job and then I come over there and then he shows up at 9 o'clock and coffee in one hand, walking around trying to tell you how you should remodel your project. And then by 10 o'clock, he's like, well, let's go get materials, boys. Then he heads down to Home Depot and picks materials up. Comes back by 11:30, unloads, and then guess what time it is? It's lunchtime. Let's go get lunch, boys. Like, are you kidding me? So I've always said that the best contractors to find if you're in the market where you're looking for them is at Home Depot at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Just go down there, see who's in there early. Because here's why. Those contractors understand time and money. That they're not being paid by the hour, are they? They're being paid by the project. So the faster they get it done, ultimately, the more money they make per hour. And so the guys at Home Depot early in the morning, they're getting all their stuff out of the way so that they can be started at 8 o'clock on the job. You with me? Those guys are the ones you're looking for. Those are the ones that understand, let's get in, get it done, and move on. Now, that means you got to be up early, too, to check.
Yeah, and you want to stay away from the guys that got the big, brand new, nice, fancy truck that's not dirty.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Like, I'm telling you, like, now this is the truth. The best two contractors that I work with have beat up trucks. And I don't know what it is. And maybe the nice ones at home, you know, but I've never asked them. But I mean, I always think, man, like, they make a lot of money working with me. I wonder why they drive that. But yeah, I guess
It's just a work truck. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's like Warren Buffett. How many billions is he worth? Still drives the same car he's been driving for 10, 20 years.
That's true, though. That's true.
Like, he doesn't care. No, I'm being, I wouldn't say facetious, but I'm making a joke about that. But it really is. If somebody is driving a brand new $70,000 pickup that's clean, you think that those bids are going to be coming in higher to help support his lifestyle and the way he's living?
That's true.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's got a higher quality of life. And the reality is he probably or she probably shouldn't be working with investors, because investors, we need our numbers where? Low. That contractor probably should be working with retail buyers, homeowners who they charge more to. And that's something you got to understand, guys. There's different contractors. There's contractors that work with, homeowners and they charge retail. And then there's contractors that work with investors because they're looking for what? Volume. Right. They want more volume out of them. So, all right, check your work or check their work from other jobs. This is why I always ask, do you have a portfolio? And usually, the ones that do will have like a picture portfolio of all their jobs and, what the befores and afters looked like on these jobs. And I think that's important. And get a copy of their business license and insurance in the state in which they're in. It's important. Never pay in full. Never pay in full. And I don't care who it is. I was the best man at a ex-friend of mine's wedding. Ex-friend, you heard that, didn't you? Best man. Known this guy 20 years. He wanted to start doing contractor work. He lived in Tennessee. He wanted to start coming down to Huntsville and doing jobs for me. And I said, okay. And I knew he was going through a hard time. He was behind on some of his mortgage payments. And so I gave him some jobs and I gave him some money up front, a little more than I normally do, to help him get his mortgages cleaned up on his house. And he started working for me. And on this, it was a big job. It was a $160,000 remodel. And it was a big job for him. And he's a good worker. He's just a poor quality of a human being. But he got going, and next thing you know, like every week he was needing a little extra money, needing a little extra money, needing a little extra money, needing a little extra money. And we were probably about 3/4 of the way through the project, and there was probably still, I don't know, $30,000 worth of work to be done. And money-wise, I only really owed him like maybe $6,000, as in what I've already paid him and what was left on the quote. And he's like, man, I need the rest of that money. I need the rest of that money. And I said, man, let's go sit down and talk. So I sat him down and I said, listen, let's save our friendship right now. I said, because I know that if I give you this last check, there's no reason in the world for you to stay on a job working that you can't get paid for, which means you're going to leave anyways. I said, so why don't we do this? Why don't you just pack up all your stuff, go home, I'll clean this mess up, I'll get it fixed, and after a few months, let's work on our friendship again. But I'm trying to say to him, look, let me clean up the mess before you stab me in the back, because I see it coming, right? Like it's obvious. It's no way you can finish the job. No, I'd never do that to you, Zack. I'm the godfather of your children, blah, 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 which I don't know why he would say that because, anyways, but I would never do that. I would never do that. I would never do that. I said, okay, man. I'm trying to give you an out right now. Like I'm trying to give you an out. No, man, I'm going to stay here until it's finished. I said, okay. He goes back to the job. I go back over there, and he's like, man, you think I could get that $4,000? He's like, they're going to take my house. So what do? I gave him $4,000. I got on a plane, flew to Hollywood. It was my birthday weekend. So I go out to Hollywood to have a good time. And at this point, I'd already hired a second contractor because he was so far behind, I had to hire another one to get us caught up. Well, Saturday, I get a phone call from Wes, which is the second contractor, and he's like, hey, man, that guy's gone. I was like, gone? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, all of his tools are gone. Some of your tools are gone. The trailer's gone. And he left a note that said, good luck with your project. How about that one, right? Lesson learned. So now you know why I'm a stickler to the contract. I don't care if you're my mother. Happy Mother's Day. Mom, this is what the contract says. Sorry, can't do it. You signed it. It's done. It's all over with. So the point is, I don't care how close they are to you or how much you trust them, the need, or better, the greed for money will make people do strange things, okay? All right, let's talk about a case study. This is the Lindsay Lane project. $54,000 on this deal. That's a nice one, huh? It's a nice little project. So let me explain this one. I got this through direct mail going after pre-foreclosures. Pre-foreclosures. So that means what? The person was behind on payments, okay? So to give you an idea, we trimmed up the bushes. We call it umbrellaing. We umbrellaed up all the bushes. We painted the porch. I had to actually pour a new concrete slab right for you guys over here, inside here. Now, normally, my normal life, I would have cut these trees down and yanked them because I just don't like trees in front of a house at all. I would have yanked them out and moved on. But we put a fence in to create some privacy. It had a huge backyard. New paint. That right there is my standard paint. It's actually called Dapper Tan. Glidden makes it. Dapper Tan. I paint everything with it. Outside, inside, you name it, I paint it. Dapper Tan. Here, you got to understand something. I buy the same tile. I buy the same paint. I buy the same flooring because here's why. When I send someone to the warehouse and I go pick up some exterior paint, they're not calling me going, oh, well, which color, Zack? Like, oh, there's the paint, right? Hey, I need you to go get some towel. Oh, which color, Zack? There's only one towel for him to get, right? We painted the gutters. We painted the shutters. We painted the house, the landscaping. We screened in a back porch off of this thing. We removed trees in the back. 7 trees I took out of the back. And the reason being is they were huge trees right up next to the house. And it would have created foundation, but it would have also scared off buyers because this house is in a tornado alley. And so about every 4 years, a tornado rips through this area. So that's welcome to the South, right? People always said to me when I was living in California, this is funny because they would say, oh, you lived in the South, you had tornadoes. And I'd say, yeah, but I live in California now, you have earthquakes. I'm like, at least I know a tornado's coming. Like I can get in the closet here. You don't know. It just happens. So get the helmet. All right, the kitchen. Now this one we widened a little bit because houses in the South, what you'll find is everything has a door. There's like a door to the kitchen, a door to the hallway, a door from the hallway to the other hallway, a door into the dining room, a door into the living room. There's a door everywhere. And I think that they did it like that in the South to try to centralize the heating and cooling. But it drives me crazy. So the first thing I do is I start coming in and taking doors out. And we cut the sheetrocks back and we add headers in so we widen entryways like in this area and in this area. But we did the backsplash. You see these cabinets? Listen, I want to be very clear with you. This is not a TV show. This is real life, guys. You don't go in and just rip cabinets out because you want to let out aggression, okay? I know that's like the cool thing they do on TV, but you got to understand how, like I know most of those guys that have these shows. I was friends with them all before they got picked up by HGTV and A&E, okay? They want drama on these shows. Here's the thing that they don't tell you about these shows is that it's called product placement. They can't pay them to be on the show. Let me just acknowledge that. But what they can do is they can give them all the free material. So they make their money in the what? In the profits. So busting out cabinets is no big deal for them because why? They're going to get cabinets for free. You understand? So that's what you got to realize. The TV shows are great, but how many of you have looked at it when they ran their numbers and you go, what? Anybody done that? Yeah, you're like, how in the world is that possible? Like, for instance, my buddy Dave, he's got a show going on, and I'm watching him one day, and he's cutting this tree down and right into a garage. I call him up, and I'm like, dude, like, you're an idiot. Like you know how to cut a tree down. Oh, yeah, they just wanted me to do that. I'm like, well, who's paying for the garage? Oh, they are. I'm like, it's TV, guys, okay? It's TV, all right? Let's be clear. I'm like, okay, well, then cut another one down on it. But one of the things that you need to understand is we change out all the outlets and switches. There's nothing worse in the world than to go in and remodel a house and they still have all the old plugs and switches in there. Like, that's horrible, right? It's like, what? Like, why didn't you just spend the extra time to do this? Okay? Give you an idea, like in here, like you can see, like we added the new granite in, we do undermounting sinks, we add all new faucets. One of the things that I do that will help you is I don't replace mirrors. You know, like when you go into an old house or buy a house, it's got old mirrors in it. Around the edge, it's real dingy or faded. We just go by what's called mirror trim. And it's got stick them on the back of it, and we just stick them on the mirror trim. So it gives it a beveled new look, and we get to keep the mirror, right? So some things that we do there. What else? Backsplash. We add the little granite 4-inch backsplash in the bathroom. We do all the switches and plugs, lighting, tile on the floor. I'm a believer that anywhere there's wet area, kitchen, laundry, baths, we put tile in. I can't tell you how many times I've bought a house and go in the bathroom, there's carpet in it. And I'm like, could you imagine the mold that's probably being created underneath that from getting out and drying off and water dripping? And I get it. Some people are like, well, I don't want tile on my feet when I'm wet. We'll put a rug in. Lay a rug down. It'll help, I promise. So Resurfaced the tub. This one we did. I don't know. You can kind of see it in the mirror there, but I didn't get a good picture of that one. But all the tubs in this house we resurfaced. New toilets, a must. No one wants to reuse an old toilet, right? So I am a fan of new toilets, right? With the long,
We did a walkthrough on a rehab after a rehab meeting. The only thing everyone talked about was the fact that the toilet hadn't been replaced.
And all your buyers will too.
And it's just, oh, look, why didn't they do that? So it's like,
Listen, you got to understand, you're looking at it from I got to get it done and get out of it, but what you need to be thinking of it from is what is that buyer going to see? And I promise you, what you see, like some of the detail, like things that you're thinking about, they don't see. What they see is the color of the switch and the toilet not being replaced. And why did they not make the same knob on this cabinet, but the foundation could be falling apart under the house? But they're going to look at all this so you got to think from the buyer's perspective at all times. So yeah, toilets are a must, absolute must. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Now this house, when I bought this house, it had it had 6 bedrooms and 4 baths. Now let's go back over here. It doesn't look like it's that big, does it? Because it goes back. They built a huge addition off the back of the house and added more bedrooms and baths. The problem with it is in this neighborhood, the only thing in this neighborhood is 3 1s and 3 2s. So nobody, who wants a 6'4"? What are you going to do with it? And obviously, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to gut this thing. But I did, and I'll show it to you. So this was where the bedrooms were. So I came in, you see this beam right here? So this was rooms, and there's a bathroom over here, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this was the 2, the 5 and the 6 with a bathroom. And it was like a hallway to that door, and then there was 2 more bedrooms. Well, we came in and basically ripped it all out and just made one big bonus room back there. Now, this is a time in my life when I had to ask for forgiveness instead of permission, because I did not pull permits on this house. And I knew from all my years of doing estimating and reading blueprints and ordering material for builders, I knew what I needed in here. So I went down and got LVLs and got all my hangers, and I cut all the trusses and pushed that beam up inside and put my I was doing it right. And we're trying to get that last beam in on that little pony. We're like, trying to get it up in on the king stud. And we're like, ugh! And all of a sudden I hear, what are you guys doing? And there's the inspector. I was like, trying to get this beam in. Can you help me? I mean, what else am I going to say, right? I'm going to drop it. Poof, nothing. Where'd that come from? I think that fell from the ceiling. I go outside with him, and he's like, well, where's your permit? I said, well, I didn't pull one. He goes, man, and this is how they are in my area. Well, listen, I'm going to red flag you today. Get down, pull a permit, and you can start back tomorrow. Right? And that's how they are. Why? Because they want their money, and they want to make sure the work's being done right. I knew the work was being done right, because when he came back out and looked at it, he goes, well, you didn't need all 3 of these LVLs. I was like, well, I was just making sure I made you happy. He was like, you really only need 2? I put 3 in there. So.
The question is actually, you were physically doing the rehab?
Well, I was helping the guys, because my thing is my guys they didn't know how to put that beam in.
But you know how to do it?
Of course.
So in the beginning, you rehabbed your own house?
Of course. When I first started, I rehabbed all my houses.
Thank you.
Yep. And then as I grew, I started, getting other people to do it for me. Yeah, I'm a fan of do it yourself first. That way you know what you're doing, right? What's that? I do some pretty good tile work. Yeah. Listen, guys, these hands right here, they ain't always been this soft.
Well, Zack, you're the man. I just did my first physical rehab too last summer. And a 3-month rehab took 6 months plus 1 month of vacation and recovery. So 7 months. But I got it done.
Yeah.
The second one took 3 weeks because I just said, I'm out of here. But I really respect you because, knowing what I just went through and then you did it and you lift the beam, I'm like, the greatest thing about learning how to do your own rehab once is that you could talk to contractors.
That's it.
And you know
That's right.
You know when they're ripping you off.
That's right. Yeah, and that's why it's easy for me when a contractor says, oh, well, that's going to take me 2 weeks. I'm like, BS, man. You can get that done in 5 days. Well, what do you mean? Well, I'll get somebody else to do it in 5 days. Because I've done it. You know what I mean? I spent time doing it. And it don't look. If we get behind, I'll go out and help. Sometimes I just like to go get dirty every once in a while. But I like to be able to leave too when I want to. You know, I don't mind it. I mean, I can do electrical, I can do plumbing, I can do roofing, I can do framing, I can do sheetrock, I can do painting, I can do structural work, I can do flooring, trim work, I can do it all, tile work. I can even take a set of blueprints and pull everything off of it that you need down to the screws and nails that you need for the project. Because I used to work for a company that we sold building supplies to builders, and I had no clue what I was doing, so they sent me off to estimating school. So that how I got the business is I would go out on the job sites and I'd say, look, if you just give me your, because here's the thing, builders building big houses pay people to do what? Take what's called material takeoff list. And I'm working with builders doing 12, 14,000 square foot houses. So their blueprints are like this, right? Like they're huge. And a lot of times they're too busy to do it. So I built the business by going out there saying, look, just give me a copy of your blueprints and I'll come back with an entire material list. And man, I would bring that blueprint back to them and they would have 14 different highlight colors on it. Because you gotta remember, you're going through looking for all the windows and then all the doors and then all the electrical stuff and then all this. And you're just highlighting everything different colors so you can add it all up. So yes, it was a path that I didn't know would lead me to where I am today, but it was just the journey in which I was being put at that all became useful for me in my today, everyday life. So yeah, it's funny how things work out, right? So yeah, I'm not just up here just chatting with you. Like, I'll walk in a house with you and tell you exactly what we need to do and how much it's going to cost and how long it should take. Well, Robin and Don saw me do it. I walked in and be like, this is going to take this, this is how long it's going to take, this is how much it was going to cost. And then when we got back to the classroom, I said, now you guys run the numbers and see if it matched with mine. And we were good. I do blinds. Why do I do blinds? Because my competition doesn't. They don't do it. I also do the levers on all my doors because here's why. As people get older and buy houses, it gets harder for them to what? Turn the knobs. So I do levers on it. You can see I'm pointing out. We change all the outlets. We do mirror bypasses in rooms. Why? Make them look bigger. Absolutely. Mirror bypasses. And we update fans. We put ceiling fans in any rooms that are big. We don't put them in like the kids' rooms, but we put them in the masters. So here's the thing. I bought this for $67,000. It cost me $20,000 to fix it up. I had this thing for 4 months. Not fix-up time, but fix-up and sell time. I used private money on this deal. I paid 8% for my private money. Good deal, right? The ARV was $160,000. My resale fees at 10% of the ARV. I ended up making a $54,000 check on this deal.
You forgot the boom. Hello.
Let's talk to him. Oh, answer that phone. Hello? Give me that phone. Hello? 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 Oh, they hung up. I was going to get a deal for you there. They're going to get me a deal out of this one. Last time I answered the phone in class, I did pretty good for somebody. Listen, that don't mean everybody turn your phones on. They're like, ring, 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 ring. So, all right, here's another one for you. This is the Pratt Avenue deal. So this one's kind of in like a, I was like 5 points. It's kind of a trendy little area. And I'll show you some befores and afters on this one. So this is what it looked, the bottom is what it looked like before. Just kind of was stuck in there. But then I wanted to lighten it up, make it stand out, and we put a new roof on it and lighten it up. Now here's the thing, in a historical area, you can't really do anything to the exterior of the house without getting what? Approvals, right? We didn't have to get a permit on this one, actually. We were able to get approvals. And but here's the problem. They only do it like every 3 to 4 months. So if you miss the approval process, you got to wait 3 to 4 months before they come back to approve things again. So that's a little tricky timeline when you're in a historical area. And what we were trying to get approved was what? The color. Yeah, you had to get color. You couldn't just paint it. You had to get the color approved. So we put a new roof on it. We painted the house. We painted the gutters. I'm a big fan of painting gutters. I mean, listen, gutters get what? Dingy. Let's paint them. So when I get a painting contractor, I put in there, look, inside the house, you're painting walls and trim. Outside the house, you're painting the exterior of the house, the shutters, the doors, and the gutters. Because why? My door's one color, my shutters are one color, my walls are one color, and my trim and gutters are what? One color. So I got to make sure that we outline that. We did landscaping. We built a porch on the back. We removed bushes, and we put up a little white picket fence. Because it kind of goes with the neighborhood, right? People in this little part of town, they live here. They're smaller houses. Like this is an area where, this is a little 2-bedroom house. They sell for $300,000. It's a little trendy in a little area. I mean, it's just the way it is. You'll see some of the stuff we did to the inside. Ian, you might actually be proud of me on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little trendy house, huh?
Yeah. So down in the bottom left corner is what the kitchen used to look like. Okay, and then we turned it into what you see on the top. This house, I did bring new cabinets in because why? That was on the bottom left, that was literally all the cabinets they had in that kitchen. That was it. That was it. They had this metal rack that a stove was on. And that was it. So we came in. I had them build this pony wall. Over here we see this little white wall. We added granite to the top of it and another little counter and a cabinet here. We had all these cabinets put in appliance packages. Now, we put refrigerators in all of our houses. Why? Because no one else does it. That's why we do it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Theft. Oh, cutout boxes? Why don't he get a fake refrigerator? So they're just breaking in just to steal that. Yeah, he could put an alarm system in that would prevent that. Oh, wow. Well, here's what I would tell him. I'd tell him to do a zip code matrix to define where the right areas should be for him to flip in, okay? So, all right, so the kitchen, we did cabinets, hardware, granite countertops, backsplash. We switches and plugs. We did lighting package, tile for the floor, because it's what? It's a wet area. Refrigerator, stove, microwave, dishwasher, and we painted the kitchen as well. Here's the bathroom. Where's Ian? Look at that one. Look, Dane. Look how trendy that is. I did the old checkerboard tile and subway tile in here. Look at that, man. Look at that, huh? What you got on that? So this bottom left is what the old bathroom in the guest area was like. We resurfaced it, and then we added all this tile in there, you see? So that was something that wasn't easy for us. That one was. This one took a little more work just because it was a little more detailed. But we did the black granite in here, painted the cabinets. We did the white subway tiles with black trim tile in there. Right above this jacuzzi tub, we popped in I just went blank. Sunroof, not a sunroof. Skylight, thank you. Right above this, we popped in a skylight so that when they're in the jacuzzi tub, they could see the stars. And, have a bubble bath and a glass of wine.
Do you come up with all your design yourself, or do
We don't really do design work. Let me
Well,
just
I'm
tell
saying,
you.
like these changes you're making, do you have someone else to suggest?
No, I mean, if you call this design, then I love you. Because I don't think this is much design. I just look at it, because this was just one big open area down here. And I said, well, we need like a little bar area. So we built a wall and added a bar. The layout of the kitchen, we had the cabinet company do that. They just came in, measured everything, and said, here's the cabinets you could put in. This, the bathroom here, it already had a walk-in, and it had a little cheap tub in here. So we just jazzed it up. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say I'm a designer. I'm probably far from a designer. I just look at it and say, well, what would be the logical use of this area? Like, how can I'm a big fan of not wasting space. And we walk into a lot of houses that just have wasted space, like, just dead space that you could use. And so that's something I do look at a lot. But all right, here's the living room. The top right corner is what it was like when we got it. This came off of this was a direct mail deal too, actually. This is what we came in and did. We painted, added a darker color on the walls. This house all had hardwood floors, so we basically came in and sanded and resurfaced all these floors. Now, the front of this house was kind of unique because the original house, where you see this little front area at the bottom where there's tile up in here, this used to be a porch, and they had framed it in to add extra square footage and livable space. So we just left it as is. I just added this little railing right here, and then we tiled that area because they had some cheap, laminate in there, and it just didn't flow well with the hardwoods. But if we put hardwoods in to match it, it raised it so high, it was almost you had to create a step, so we just came in with tile on it. So this was a good one. We picked it up for $84,000. We spent $25,000 fixing it up. We held it for 2 months. That's how fast they move in this little area. We had private money on this one at 10%. The after repaired was $190, and we had 10% resale fees, and we made $59,000 on this deal. That was a February deal. Because 6% real estate commissions and 4% in seller concession and closing fees. So you always pay 6% real estate commissions. So the other 4% get eaten up with like seller concessions and things like that. So it really wasn't a $59,000 deal. It was really $59,014.47. So I just rounded down for you guys. So, all right, one more, and then I'm going to let you guys get some lunch in today. We're going to take lunch. You only get an hour for lunch today, by the way. I warned you on Friday. I told you on Friday. So then you got to pay attention. Yeah. Hey, Joseph, can you let Tyler know that we're going to let him take lunch in about 15 minutes? All right, here's another one. This is the Walina project. Now, this one, I did go a little bit extra on the kitchen and the bathrooms, but there again, I left the cabinets. So I bought this house. We had to trim it up. See, the bottom one was what it looked like when we bought it. Now, this one right here was an interesting one because this one we actually got off the MLS, but it had been on the market for over a year. Over a year it had been on the market. And the reason it had been on the market for over a year is the homeowner moved out of state and wasn't realistic. And when you walked in the house, it had green tile. Like it had green tile in the kitchen and green tile in the foyer. And it had like red paint in the living room. And it was lived in. Let's just say that. And for them, I'm sure they were happy with it. But for a buyer coming in, a buyer needs to see what they can do to it, not what, because when a buyer walks in and sees that, what's the buyer think? Oh, I got to do work. And does the buyer want to do work? Mm-mm. Are you buying houses that are in the 50s and 60s year of construction? I buy houses that are 10 years or older. Okay. Yep, 10 years or older because I want them older. Okay? Yeah, like this house right here, I believe it was like 25 years old. This one over here, I forget. Oh, I think this one was like 70 plus years old. This one was. The other one before that, I want to say it was like 35 or something like that. So I'm a fan of older. If they're older, I'm happy about it. So, yes.
The one that you showed us before this one, it had siding on it?
No, that is a shiplap siding. Yes, it does have siding on it, but not vinyl siding, if that's what you're asking. It is a shiplap siding. So we had to paint it. All right. Now that first one I showed you, the addition they put off the back had vinyl siding around the back, but the front was brick. So All right, let's move on to this other one. So on this one, the first thing I noticed when we bought the house was really it was so dark, right? It was like so dark. So this was a huge tree that I didn't cut out because the tree actually had a really cool branch hanging off and it had a swing on it. And I know why they did that, because the backyard was like this. And there was nowhere for kids to swing or play, you know what I mean? So I didn't want to remove the tree because if a family did come in, I wanted them to see, hey, there was potential for the kids to have something to do. But what I did do is I ballooned that tree up, or known as umbrellaing, where you just basically clean the tree up as high as you can go, you know, and you just create some distance. Because you can see now, you can actually see the window and all that. We redid the roof. We painted the outside a lighter color. They had it some green color to match the tile in the house. We did do a brown trim on this one. We did landscaping. We built a back porch. I'll show it to you. Removed bushes, and we created a rock border around the house. I don't know if you can see it, but we went and bought those big boulder type rocks and ran it around. Only because this neighborhood is really tucked away in the Madison area up on a little hillside, and all these houses are, every one of them is different. And that's what I love about these neighborhoods. I love flipping in these types of neighborhoods where every house is different. There's full trees in these neighborhoods. I love that, where, you know, when you get into the neighborhoods where every house is the exact same and there's no trees in it, they're all cookie cutter, and I don't know. I mean, you can make money in them, but I like these neighborhoods. I like living in these neighborhoods, and I like flipping in these neighborhoods.
Zach, what's your philosophy on overlaying roofs instead of new roofs?
I'll do them if I can get away with them. So on a house like this, I'd never get away with it. But let's say if I'm flipping a $100,000 to $125,000 house, if I need to put one on there, I would. In my market, you can do 3 overlays. After that, you have to rip it off. So. All right, so this bottom is what the kitchen used to look like, and the top is what we did to it. Actually, I did that backsplash. Yeah, I did that mosaic piece right there. It's kind of like a release for me. They'll say, hey, I'll say, listen, just get it all over there, I'll do the tile. And, you know, I'll go over there on a weekend or nighttime, and I'll just do it. Yeah, like playing. Yeah, it's kind of like turn the music on, and let's do this. So, this is an expensive granite, and I'll give you guys an idea how to tell the difference between cheap granite and expensive granite. So cheap granite is the granite one, it's obviously thinner, but it has speckles in it. Expensive granite is when you start to see the grains and you see the wave and the patterns. That, it gets more expensive. So like granite in my market, we can get it for $28, $29 a square foot. But if you go to like this type of granite, this granite right here cost me $68 a square foot. It was very expensive. But in this neighborhood, I had to do something different because most of the houses in this neighborhood were 3-2s with yards or 4-2s with yards. And this one didn't have a yard, so I had to what? Make the kitchen and the bathrooms. Boom. I had to sell the mom. Don't worry about your kids. You're going to be taken care of, right? So.
Well, you know, I know the focus is 3-2s, right?
Very much.
You do buy sometimes 3-1s.
I will buy a 3-1 if I know that there's a lot of 3-1s selling in that neighborhood. Or I'll buy a 3-1 if there's room to add an extra bathroom off the master and turn it into a 3-2. So those are things I will do.
They also have a lot of
2 2s that you can add a bedroom.
yeah, but they also have the very big backyard.
Yeah, which gives you room to add on. That's something that we can add square footage, which means what? Be careful with this. Write this down. If you're going to add on to a property, you need to make sure you know what your resale per square foot price is, right? And that the add-on addition is less than that number. You don't want to add an addition if the resale per square foot, let's say it's $80 a square foot is what you could sell the property for, and a contractor comes in and says, yeah, I'll add that on, and the whole square footage in his job comes out to $100 a square foot. You just lost money. Like, it makes no sense to do it. So I'm looking, if it's 80, I want a contractor to be able to do it for 50 or maybe 60 if I can't get him down to 50. So And if you tell a contractor, can you do it $50 a square foot, most contractors aren't going to be able to acknowledge that information. I mean,
Add on a garage. That's not really square footage of the house.
I don't know if I would do that.
Are we live here?
Adding on a garage doesn't really give me a benefit unless there's no garage there. Is it a carport or an actual garage?
Actual garage. There is no garage there.
And do all the houses in that neighborhood have garages?
House in that are
Then that's one of those things that you get nothing back for adding it, so you better buy it cheap enough to take in the cost to do that. You with me? Yes, Ian.
So I have this computer plugged up, so if I want to show one of the flips that I did.
Oh, why you gonna put me to
Yeah,
shame?
yeah. So one of the things, guys, when you put properties on the market, make sure you have a professional photographer shoot the photos. You don't want to shoot them with your iPhone. You want to spend the money, get the nice photos. This house was built in 1945.
He can show it off. He does 1 to my 20.
Yeah, he's right though. Actually, 3 or 4. So it was built in 1945. I got this lead from a personal referral. This was a probate house. We bought it for $80,000, and we put $80,000 into the house. So that's a custom cedar.
Okay, I like him.
Front porch and all that.
I love what he does.
Redid that's a mid-century modern door, stained. We did slate tile. So here's the interior. We basically raised the ceilings. We gutted out all the walls going into the kitchen. So those are the original hardwoods. They did not look like that when we bought them, so we had to sand them down, hand scrape them, and then stain them, and then add a little bit more wood into the kitchen. That's one of the big trends in properties right now is wood floors going throughout the kitchen. So you can see the stone tile around the fireplace. There's a marble hearth there on the floor. And this one is a cross between mid-century modern and just more of a contemporary feel. So it has a lot of dark woods in it. All the walls are light gray. We redid all the trim. Actually, the entire house was completely rewired and re-sheetrocked, so everything in the house is brand new. Did a barn door there for the bathroom. You can see the island. Island's powered. All the plugs that are in the kitchen have USB plugs because, everybody has smartphones and tablets and stuff, so you can plug your smartphone into the kitchen right there. So there's a utility closet on the back that we restructured. There's a pocket door there. There's actually a washer and dryer back there in the back. So just island, open field. This house is about 1,200 square feet. We bought it for $80,000. We put about $80,000 into it. So if those of you want to run some numbers, we got it under contract on Friday. So right before I came to the event, I signed a contract to sell it for $253,000. So we are now in escrow. Yeah, so we have glass tile. We have lights underneath the cabinets. Some stainless cabinets over there, or I say shelves over that stainless dishwasher. Another shot of the kitchen there. Island, another view there. That was like the dining area. We put a mirror in that little cabinet area. So instead of having doors or anything like that, because most people put like their dishes and stuff in there like a china cabinet. So we just trimmed it out, put mirrors, and then put an LED light in there as well. So that's one of the bedrooms. So we did all kinds of crazy stuff to this house. It was really cool. It was a really neat project. Marble tile in the shower there.
How long did it take you to do it?
It took us about 3 months to get it done. Yeah, so that's it. So this is one of my projects right there.
In 3 months, I would have already done 15 of them.
Hey, I got 4. Come on, give me a break.
One day, Ian, you'll make it. One day, Ian. I love you, though, brother. So, it's okay. He does really good work. Listen, if you're okay doing a rehab every 3 months, do it. I'm just not okay with it. Like, he'll come to my market, look at some of the stuff I'm doing. He's like, man, you should do this and this. I'm like, I ain't got the time. Look, I promise you, I'm in a market. As soon as I get on the market, it's going to sell. So I ain't got the time. But listen, if you guys get a deal in a very trendy type area, do you need to do that type of stuff? Yeah. Look, I've got so many, man. We'd spend all weekend going through my case studies. But there's another house that we did. We put $180,000 in the remodel. And, this thing was, sunken living rooms. I mean, you name it. But why? It was in a neighborhood where houses were selling for $500,000. And in my market, like that's big, right? So, but that's the kitchen. We kept all the cabinets. All we did was literally, we came in, we did a light sand on these cabinets, and we came back in and did a light gloss finish on them, just to get them sparked back up again. That's the bathroom. Look at that. That's the bottom. You see why? I mean, I was explaining to the guy, I was like, look, no wonder you're not selling this house. It's still living in the 70s. He's like, oh, well, we love that house. And I'm like, yeah, you probably lived in it since you bought it. Well, my mother had it. I'm like, that's my point. Like, yeah, you love it. You have memories in it. But you're trying to sell it. Stop loving it. Like, try to get rid of it. So in the bathroom, we did all the tile work in here. We laid granite across the bath. You notice that this granite is what? It's not as expensive, is it? If you can see it, it's speckled. You see that? So this is $29 square foot granite. We ran tile in the shower. I ran this border in here. I actually did this trim in here too. I don't know. For some reason, when it comes to the tile, I like doing it sometimes. But big difference, right? Big difference in that. This is the living room. I want you to see this. In the top, this was the living room after we redid all the floors, and it had the old brick fireplace. And look what we did here. You can't even tell. We painted the brick to match the walls, and we built a bookcase in. Now, here's something we did on that bookcase. Because the length that we needed, we couldn't get. We'd have to have actually made. So what we found is a kitchen vanity. What does that mean? It's got the doors underneath. It's got the two pull-outs. But the middle one is what? It's a fake, right? It's dead so that they can sit the sink in. So what we did is we built an actual shelf in that area. So we took the front drawer cover off, and we built a pocket in there, and we actually ran all of our wiring all the way through the side of this cabinet, through the brick and around the back up to the top, so that all the wiring was hid for when you hang the TV over the fireplace, and then that shelving became for all the electronics. Right? So it was like, it just kind of gave it a little bit of a cool thing. The other thing is all these beams were just an old wood, dingy looking. We painted those, resurfaced all the floors. We opened up this open area going into the kitchen, tile in the foyer. Now here's a trick you guys want to write down. Look at this deck right here. You see this? That's the old deck. Look at that. Do you know what this is? This is these boards flipped over. Yeah, because why? The top gets old from what? The sun. The bottom, did you just do that? It's amazing, isn't it? You just you unscrew everything, you flip them over, screw them back down, give it a good pressure washing, and you're off. So, yep, you just flip them over. That's how we do them. Now, if they're real bad, you can't flip them over. But most of the time, you can just flip them over. You might have to add some extra trim around the edges, but you can do it. So here's this one. We purchased it for $122,000. My fix-up on this was $27,000. My hold time was 2 months on it. I had a private investor at 10% on it. My after repair was $228,000. My resales were at 10%. $56,000. Now, it actually wasn't $56,000. It was really $56,889.26. But that was just 2 of the 8 that we closed in the month of February, and that's over $100,000 just in 2 deals. You understand, guys? It don't take very many of them to get you where you want to be. Here's why I always challenge you guys, because I say, look, if you're not making $200,000 to $300,000 a year in this business, you're doing something wrong. Like you're doing something. I know people that are only making 100, maybe 200,000 in this business, and they've been doing it longer than I've been doing it. But they feel like what? Oh, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Okay, well, I see them 2 years later. How's it going? Oh, we're doing the same. Well, like, what's your intent then? Like, is your intent to just keep doing the same? Well, no, we want to grow. Well, then let's help you. No, we got this. Okay, then 2 years later, guess what? I'll see them again. How you doing? You growing? Well, no, not really. Well, have you gotten any help? No, we got this. Guys, there's some point you got to wake up and realize you don't got this, right? Like you really don't got this. Like you've got the desire for it, but you're still doing the same thing you've always done, and you've got to change something. And if you're the type that just keeps saying, well, I'm just going to get a little more information. I'm just going to get a little more information. The trouble is you think you have time and you don't. That's the problem. Because what's going to happen in 2 years or 18 months to 2 years, this market takes another dip. Are you going to buy then? And then you're going to be like, oh, I got caught in that bubble. I got caught in that bubble. Poor me. I'm a statistic. No. You got to do something, guys. You got to wake up. Listen, if you're not going to do it, you need to hire someone that's going to help you do it. You understand? Yes? Yes. You guys are wearing out on me. We're only on day Sunday. Jerome. Man, I need you at all my seminars, man. I really do, man. Like look, every time you sit somewhere, the people around you are clapping and cheering. Like, I need you to get around the people that are like this. Maybe you'll get them energized. Because here's what I've noticed. Anybody here ever been to a Tony Robbins seminar? Yeah. Who has? Okay, you know what I've noticed? When you go to a Tony Robbins seminars, like when you're out at other seminars and you got those people like Jerome that are excited about life and the other people aren't, they all like, what's that guy doing? Like, what's that guy doing? Like, why is he so excited? Like, what's he doing? What'd he eat this morning? Now you go to a Tony Robbins seminar and you're the one not doing anything and everybody's like, what's wrong with that person? Like, why are they just sitting there? They ain't even smiling. Look at them. They need to go home, right? It's like, I love them, man. I go to one at least once a year. You know why? Because I can be as foolish as I want to be, and I can stand up on chairs and jump around. And the person next to me is like, I know. And like people are they just let go. You understand? They just let go. All that stuff that they hold back because no one hugged them enough as a child, they let go. Because guess what? We hug everybody at the Tony show. Right? The Tony show. That's the point. I always say this to myself when I meet people that are just kind of, I don't want to say the word that they say all the time, but they always have that not nice face, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? They have that not nice face. Yeah. I always look at that person, I always say to myself, you know what? I bet you they needed a hug. They just need some, no, you smile, man. I like you. you have a good time. And I like how you're like, look, I may not be giving it right now, but I know it's me. Like you own it. You know what I mean? Like I like that. But I'm a big fan that we got to hug more often. I think if we hugged more often in life, or we hugged our children more often, they would grow up to be happier people. Anybody agree with that? Look, I know people right now that, that I hang out with that they're like, man, like, you're just so happy. I'm like, yeah, my mom hugged me to death. And you could tell they'll be like, well, I didn't come from a very affectionate family. I'm like, that's your problem. Like, don't pass that on. You know what I mean? Like, change that. Love someone. Allow someone to love you. Be affectionate. Hug. Talk to somebody. Look them in the eyes. Smile at them. Like, I used to be married to a person. I didn't. I was out. I don't mean that in a negative way. But I'll never forget one day I said to her, why don't you smile? And she said, well, I'm not going to be fake. I was like, let me get on up out of here. Listen, sometimes in life, the hardest decision we have is letting go the people around us the closest. Trust me, I had to. Because we have to find where it is we want to be. And a lot of times when we look around, the people we love the most aren't the people we need around us. Right? I'm teaching it. And sometimes at the end of the day, those people are family. Because let me tell you, we have a hard enough time telling that little voice that's lying to us to shut up. But then when we get around family and other people around us that we say love us, but they negative to us. Did you hear what he said? You can't do that. What are you talking about? Are you going to another one of them seminars? Yeah, we drank the Kool-Aid, right? I drank the Kool-Aid when I was 16 years old, and look at where I'm at, right? Let me tell you something. I let go of what everybody else thought if I was crazy or not. I just let it go. I said, I'm in. Give me Kool-Aid. Give me 2 of them. Give me one for later, too, because I'm going to need it when I get home, and all my family's like, what are you doing? Give me some Kool-Aid. That's why I moved out at 16. First time I ever started listening to Tony Robbins. I left home at 16 years old. I was at a yard sale, and I saw this cassette tape of this guy with a big old mouth, and I was like, is this a comedian? And the lady goes, oh, no, this will change your life. This guy will teach you things that you didn't even realize was possible. And I was like, really? I was like, what's he teaching? She's like, you just need it. And it was like $5 or something like that. So I stuck I used to drive a 1972 Gremlin. Anybody know what those are? You guys know what that is? Yeah. It was green too. 3-speed. And it had a hole in the floor. That's case, never mind. But I put this Tony Robbins in, and he started talking about you could change your mind. Think about what you want to be. And I started hearing all these stories about people that came from bad lives and became all these great successes. And I thought, man, why can't I do that? But the key thing he kept driving home was you have to believe in yourself. You have to acknowledge you need help. You have to get the help, and you have to allow yourself to accept the help. And man, all this was coming in at 16 years old. And that's when I realized I didn't need to be around my family. I love my family, but I realized they were cancer to the way I wanted to go. Because my family, man, you sit with them for 5 minutes, you done heard everything there is about Joe, Lou, Sue, Mary, who she dating, who they dating, who did what, who's in jail, how many people died last month. And I'm like, and what are you doing to better yourself? And they're like, what? I'm like, how's your diet going? Have you heard about what's going on right now? Like the market's in a good position. What are you doing to correct that for yourself financially? What are you talking about? It's like you got to get away from it, guys. Like, listen, I'm all about small talk, but I can only take so much of it. Like people ask me all the time, Zach, why don't you have a girlfriend? Look, I date, but I can pretty much tell after the first dinner. Like, no more after that. If I cannot get depth with you and talk more than about the Kardashians or MTV, I'm like, so, what's your goals? I almost feel like it's like an interview because I'm like, so what's your 5-year goal? What have you done to set up yourself financially? What do you plan to pass down as a legacy to your children? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. Here's a check. And then, like, well, why don't we go out again? I think you're sweet. And you deserve better than me. I know that that's bad, but here's the thing. Like, I've gotten to a point in my life that I know that my way of thinking is much different than the average person. And I can't allow to be sucked back down to average anymore. You know what I mean? I will go insane if I'm average. I want to be extraordinary, and I want the people around me to be extraordinary, and I want whoever my next final beautiful queen in my life to be extraordinary too, right? Yeah. Woo, woo, woo. So I'll start a dating site about all this soon, I'm sure. I'll be like, Zack Childress on Dating 101.